Yeah, electrolytes are anything that produces charges as a result of a reaction. With water. So generally an electrolyte is any substance. When I put it in water, it produces something with a positive and something with a negative in the aqueous solution or in the water. That's what an electrolyte is. So electrolytes could be substances that already have positives and negatives, and the positives and negatives are all lined up in rows and columns like in a crystal. And then once it dissolves, they just get separated from one another and move around separately. So ionic compounds, right? Salts, any ionic compounds that already have a cation and an anion combined together. If I put them in water and the ions separate, that's an electrolyte. Other substances could be like a molecule where there are no charges. Maybe there's a bunch of atoms connected together in some way. And then when I put that in water, the water is able to break some of these bonds up. And that maybe produces some charges. That would also be an electrolyte. Right, so whether the species started with charges or whether it didn't, if it produces charged ions in water, when I dissolve it or place it in water, that's an electrolyte. So the strength of the electrolyte depends on how many charges it produces. So if I have, let's say I have like half a mole of this. I put half a mole in. If I find, because of this 1 to 1 to 1 ratio, if I were to find that I'd get half a mole of this after I dissolve it and half a mole of this after I dissolve it, and there's none of this left because all of it broke down and to produce these charges, that would be a strong electrolyte. And so strong bases, strong acids, and most salts are strong electrolytes because when I put them in water, every unit of the starting compound I start with gets converted into these charged species after they're introduced to the water. If I have a weak acid or base, where when I put 0.5 moles of this in, maybe only some of it reacts. So maybe I only get like 0.1 mole of this, 0.1 mole of this, and then after the reaction, maybe I still have most of what I started with remaining in the form that's not charged. Well, then that would be considered a weak electrolyte, because if most of the compound or a significant amount of the compound remains in the form where it doesn't have a charge and only some of the particles actually break down to produce charges, I'm not going to have that many charges around, so it's a weaker electrolyte. So weak acids and weak bases are fit into that category.